All right, and we are live.
RegionFree makes my nipples hard. So let's go.
Return to London after midnight on WTSF.
Yeah, I know. I've been thinking about it a lot. I just wanted to hear your voice. You know what today is, right? I can't stop thinking about it. About what happened. And to his face. It was just a prank. It didn't mean for that to happen. It's been 5 years.
Welcome back to RegionFree, where I'm having horrible camera problems.
What
So
just
someone else is going to have to talk because
Hiya,
I have to figure
buddies.
this shit out right now.
That's okay. Lauren's in glorious 240p right now.
Brought to you by
sure?
Betamax.
It's the first
I
time
don't have a joke.
It's like the first time I watched Humongous on that really shitty VHS where you couldn't see anything in the movie. But that's
Humongous
okay.
what?
Humongous, the movie.
Zid Justice, Zid Udi.
You don't know about Humongous? That's Lord Humongous Steak, but
That's close enough.
Lord Humongous. Okay.
Lord, put some respect on that name, Steak.
Well, I mean, I kind of don't feel you need to add Lord because if you're talking about Humongous, you're talking about Lord Humongous.
I'm right here.
When you glitch out, we talk wrestling. What are you gonna do, Lauren? That's how
I
it-
didn't even
how it
realize that
goes.
was what you were doing.
That's what we did. We immediately went, all right, what can we fill dead air
It's
with?
been a good night.
Welcome to the first ever wrestling edition of Region Free Season
And
3.
and the last 2 hours of Lauren's life.
he is the master and the ruler of the world.
Boys, we do have to take him to a show at some point. Like,
No, that's not
I think
happening.
he may have a good time.
Listen,
I can confidently say Lauren would hate anything wrestling we put in front of him. There is a chance that we could hook him on interviews. Maybe. It's an outside shot, but as far as the actual in the ring
We
shit,
got to think outside of the box. This is modern problems require modern solutions kind of thing.
I have a 2-second, and I'll keep it to 2 seconds. I promise. Or
I'm going to mute your ass.
a wrestling-related horror story because
God,
Freddy
you're right.
Krueger himself at a recent XPW show got hit in the face with a steel guardrail and cut his head open.
Didn't know I could do that.
And then he tried to fight. Then he tried to fight the wrestlers. So that was a thing.
So I want to apologize to Steak because I promised I was going to dig out my Jason X shirt and we could be twinsies.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh,
it was literally in the laundry machine. I didn't realize. That is a beautiful thing, sir. But I'm repping the Hereditary instead. So
that works.
yeah,
That works.
because Jason X and Hereditary are so similar as in films in both tone and in
absolutely.
content.
I'm rocking blood-sucking
Somebody
Creed.
loses a head in both movies. I can.
Yeah,
We're fine
absolutely.
here. I mean, the parallels are there.
No, I can't show my shirt because there's boobs on them. But blood-sucking
Yeah.
freaks is what I'm.
Snake, I
repping.
do want to take a second and compliment. I do like the horn rims. I don't know if I've told you.
Well, thank you. It's very kind.
I think
I'd like them better if I could not have a fun glare in them.
well,
I want to look my best is all.
how are you, gentlemen? On this all male edition,
I'm
of
doing well.
RegionFree?
Toxic masculinity edition.
Worst day of the month so far,
I hear that.
but that's good. I've actually had a pretty decent month until today. So,
Last few days haven't been great. Anything you guys want to lead off with, or are we going to read some mail?
Let's read the mail.
Ooh.
Let's read some
let's
mail.
look at some mails.
Maybe that's not working.
American male. American males.
And I'm gone again.
Oh,
This
He's
may be
trying,
a
folks.
challenging episode.
Oh man. Well, I tell you what. Everybody knows what's up. If anyone has some complaints, they can leave them bitches at the front desk. I say we have a good time and enjoy ourselves tonight.
There you go.
On the eve of a million turkey deaths.
Yeah. There
On
you
the eve of a million turkey deaths, can you discuss your thoughts on animals dying in movies? That's from Ben Grimm.
Yes. So I believe that even went on to like ask us to rank the
I'm not doing
best deaths. I think it's very effective. You know, horror. Nobody should be safe. Children, animals, whatever. They wouldn't be in an actual
I
horror
agree.
But
scenario.
here's the thing: I don't appreciate it when it's just a cheap pop that they're trying to pull. You know what I mean? Like if it's a lot of the times that's what I'm seeing is like, oh, he killed the dog. Be mad at us. Be angry. Be upset.
But does it work? Because I would say more often than not, it does.
It doesn't with me. Like, I mean, if you're a fucking functioning adult, you realize nobody slaughtered this animal for this movie. So,
Well, you haven't watched enough Italian stuff, Jonathan.
oh no, I've seen some of that, and I do have legitimate issues with that. I've brought that up several times before. I don't want to say anything new on the subject.
Yeah, we don't need to relitigate the morality of cannibal holocaust.
Yeah.
But
yes, we do.
I think I have new things to say.
I
It
think
needs to be done
nothing
every
new
day.
that ever could be said. Yeah, no,
Pet a
listen,
turtle.
I just
Hashtag Italian horror is over party.
I think it's important that horror become dangerous again. And I do think that part of that is that, yeah, I mean, if it makes sense for the story, killing off an animal or the family pet makes entire sense.
Yeah.
If it is just a desperation move of, hey, people will this will have an impact and it's cheap and we get it at, then yeah, it's like a cheap jump scare. But that you could say that about absolutely anything that's been overdone or could be done poorly in horror. I just feel like when the audience starts saying you can't do this or you shouldn't do that, or you know, I don't mind if you kill 70 people, but don't hurt the fucking hamster. I have a problem with that. It means that you're putting guardrails on as the one genre that shouldn't have guardrails.
Yeah,
you know, and we should be proud of the fact that we can be subversive and really challenge people's emotions. If you want just a comfortable ride, really go to a different genre. You know, this shouldn't be comfortable all the time. It's not to say that every film has to be hardcore, like uncomfortable.
No, and I'm not. I don't think that's what I was projecting either. It's just when you feel it's lazy.
Sure.
That's when, you know, it's just like, you know. But
yeah, well,
there's been
Hand the Rocks a Cradle, or yeah, it's lazy.
Yeah.
Or is that single white female? I don't know. I can't.
Single white female. Yeah.
Never keep those.
No, not single white female. It's fucking Fatal Attraction. The
No,
rabbit, right?
no. I'm talking about there's a dog that goes out a window in one of those movies, which I found absolutely hilarious.
I think, yeah, because it's like an overhead shot of the dog jumping out of the window, right?
Well, no, I think the dog is thrown.
Yeah.
The Collector is one with the cat that kind of surprised me when he just tries.
Yeah,
to...
but that's honestly one of the better done ones, I think.
Yeah, but he
Collector
made a
is
stunning
dark ass
General
movie.
Tao's chicken.
That we'll talk about we'll talk about the Collector years from now being like this unknown gem that no one ever saw.
I love both those movies, but whatever.
I do
All
too.
right. I think we covered Ben Grimm's question, or at least the portion of it we were comfortable with. There's a good chance when I push this button, I'm going to disappear again. So everyone just hang tight.
This is interesting.
There we go. You're good.
Who wants to read it? There we go.
All right. Someone complained about not getting to know the Exorcist in Believer. May I ask, when in the original do we get to know Marin? Marin is the original Exorcist. Or are you guys talking about Karis, who isn't actually the title character in the original? It's Lance Lust.
I don't think. I don't. Lorne, you take this one.
I just talked a lot. Don't you guys want to have something to say before I monopolize it?
Yeah, but here's the thing. I cannot speak with authority on the Exorcist like someone like you can. So, but I know my thoughts about it. And I'm kind of curious.
All I'm gonna say is I ain't got shit to talk about here because I don't think I gave a single fuck about the Exorcist.
I just don't believe that the Exorcist is that's not the person.
By the time that fucking dude walked in the house, I was over that movie. I was waiting to get out, so I did not go to jail for murdering the college broad behind me.
College broad.
I mean, I don't think you can compare Believer in any way to the Exorcist. Of course you get to know the characters in the Exorcist, all of them. I don't know. I don't quite get that one. I couldn't even tell you what the Exorcist's name was in Believer unless I looked it up.
Any of them.
Yeah, any of them.
So here's the thing. First of all, I do think that Karis is he doesn't have a lot of screen time, but he is, I think, very well developed. In the time we get that, we know a lot of him. We know he has a heart condition. We know he's fearless. We know that he's on a quest for something in his twilight years for a greater understanding. We also know he's kind of a gunslinger for Christ. And you get all that in 6 minutes in the desert in one boardroom scene. He's a pretty badass character. And honestly, do we really get that much more of Han Solo in Star Wars? I mean, that actually adds to the character.
Yeah, no, you don't get some long backstory.
The bigger thing is, I'm going to take issue with part of the question which is that the Exorcist of the title is Karis. He is not Marin. This story is about Karis overcoming his lack of belief because of his mother's impoverished death, which he cannot provide her the proper end of life care. And he has this tremendous guilt, and it creates this extreme questioning of his faith. And him overcoming that faith is what allows him to have the strength to sacrifice himself, which is what actually exorcises the demon from Regan. So the Exorcist of the title and the entire arc of the first novel and first film is definitely Karis. I would say that Marin doesn't have an arc. It's a story that takes place at the end of his life, and he does exactly what he's done probably his entire life. But the story itself is Marin's story, every bit as much as it is Reagan's story or Chris McNeil's story. So
that's why you answered that one.
Yeah. That's why that's how I'd answer it. But you know what the cool thing is about art? No one has to be right or wrong. If you see it different, that's cool. What I read in this question is a kind of hey, is everyone being too rough on Believer? To which I say, no, I don't think I am.
I think there's not as much backlash as I expected.
I think it was so bad that no one even felt the need to fight. They just fuck.
Yes.
And we're
I really expected that. I know y'all are gonna fucking dogpile me for saying this, but the fucking Halloween ends. I really saw that coming, where it's gonna be you had half of people love it, you had half people hate it.
Okay.
But no,
as
we
far
didn't
as
even
that,
get that.
Halloween or The Exorcist does not have a similar following. This Halloween
they don't, but it's also
you're going to would be a much quieter divide anyway. I think.
I just thought
I also think that most Exorcist fans are you know, we're not. I don't want to watch that. You know, because they might have got
Mhm.
tricked by Exorcist 2.
Yeah.
What is
Well,
the
like-
problem that like Exorcist 3 is only like in the last 5-10 years?
Yeah, but
getting-
Exorcist 3
looking
could have
like-
been called something else, like
getting its flowers.
released. Like,
Okay,
and it would
sure.
have been.
But what I'm going to say here is they haven't even seen that movie, and that's a good movie because 2 sucked so fucking bad. So I feel like most Exorcist fans are like, yeah, fuck that one, fuck the 2 before that, fuck the 2 before that. I got tricked once. My favorite movie is my favorite movie. I don't need more.
Well, I mean,
That I just feel like that is the Exorcist fan.
I love Exorcist 3. I'd place it higher on my favorite films list than The Exorcist. However, I can't argue that The Exorcist is not the better film. I think it is. That doesn't mean it hits me that way. And that's the thing, is if Exorcist Believer hits you right in the soft spots and it works for you, I have nothing to say. I'm glad
it's gotta
it
be
doesn't.
for somebody.
Right. I'm glad if you're out there that it is for you. To me, it's a film that kind of, I don't know, it's like it walks into the bar room looking for the fight. And it's the guy that can't possibly win the fight. But he's already drunk when he shows up at the bar. It does nothing right in my opinion, but it's gonna find someone who loves him.
Let me postulate something here. Let me throw something out there. Do you think that the Exorcist naming, okay, it seems like either you're making if you're making a possession movie, you're either you want to make the Exorcist series movie, or you want to confuse people into thinking you've made a movie from the series, like The Exorcism and Emily Rose, the last exorcism, right? So, like, do you think that the entire subgenre of possession films is sort of marred by that?
You know what has fucked up the possession subgenre?
What?
All the filmmakers look at the head twist, pea soup vomiting, and the spider walk now, more recently, and they think that's why people like The Exorcist. And honestly, you take those scenes out of the film, it has just as big a fan base. It has it has just as much impact. It's about the characters, the drama, and the textual information. It works because the characters drive the story. If Karis's mom doesn't die in poverty, we don't care about him as a priest. If there isn't the separated family and that drama and the I'm just going to say it, it's just in the undercurrents of sexual abuse. If they're not there, the movie doesn't work. But none of these other exorcism films is thinking this deep. It's just one day a girl picks up a Ouija board and then a demon's in her. That's all they got. What gross shit can we put on the screen? Oh, she'll contort. We'll hire a contortionist to play her. It's like it completely misses it. It's all the shit that. And then the scary thing is, Blatty didn't like any of that shit. He wanted it all out of the movie. Now he's ultimately wrong. I think it all works. But,
right. Yeah.
But he was right.
Wasn't there something like that? Weren't they worried about that in like 60s Alabama?
Yeah.
Demons.
Dude, 60s Alabama was scared of a lot of shit. And I mean, 2023 Alabama's got some fucking shit they need to work on.
To all of our fans in Alabama, we love you.
But get your shit together.
All right, I think we covered this.
Thank you, Lance.
Oh, my niece again.
This was our first horror movie you saw, gentlemen. That's from Lorne Dixon.
Schein. Yes. I know her.
Schein.
You
I don't like saying people's actual fucking names on the internet.
It's out there. It's always kind of a little bit of a blur for me. I remember Universal monster movies and Vincent Price, and I have trouble placing like that first one because it's a sea of them.
Mine was real. My shit was early, so like I have flashes, but I couldn't tell you what order they came in or anything. Tales from the Crypt was really far up there because it was still when I was really really young. It was still on cable, so I kind of count that because they were like just like little movies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's your first experience with horror. But that's, for me, it's just that sea of Vincent Price and Universal monster movies.
Sorry. Yeah. I got to forget that I can't click on those. I didn't know I could do that. I had no idea. I just clicked to like look at it and it brings it up.
Tremors for Sam.
Tremors is up there, man. Tremors and Tremors 2. got a lot of play in my house.
Those were always channel changers as a kid for me, man. I've
What?
never even bothered. Dude, I couldn't care less.
See, here's the thing: if you've never seen them, I have no clue if you would even like them now.
I don't know. Yeah, I haven't. I don't really feel a compunction to.
And the first two, I think, are like legitimately fun, decent movies, like fun monster movies.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of them get pretty rough.
But as a kid,
Five,
I don't know.
I would not go. No, Dan, you're being nice.
5 is good.
5 is not good.
It's really good. 5 for
what the fuck is wrong with you? Stop talking. Are you drunk?
For a direct-to-video franchise.
See this, Dan.
Tremors 5 is really
now
good.
Now there's qualifiers, and for a direct-to-DVD feature that was released in the autumn of 2017, it wasn't bad.
If we have to say nice stuff about it, I mean, it was in focus.
Tremors 5 is great. I'll be really controversial.
Big Jamie Kennedy mark. Dan Schein is. I don't know if people know that.
We go way back. I'm always on the message boards complaining about him not being resurrected for Scream.
Is he still alive? The fat guy from Sliders.
Jonathan Rhys-Davies, yes.
That is him. Okay, he's still alive, yeah?
He
lives.
Lord of the Rings movies, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
nobody feels
I couldn't remember who the fat guy was. I know who Jonathan Rhys-Davies is.
What was your first horror movie? Answer the fucking question, dude.
I was somewhere else. I'm busy.
I know you are somewhere else because I can see it reflected in your glasses.
That's why we're all not on the same camera right now.
My first movie, it's one of the clearest memories that I have, and it is the Night of the Living Dead remake.
Nice.
I want to say I wasn't old enough to like really totally pay attention, but like the opening scene with her running to the house and all that shit's just violently clear as I was jumping on the bed at my babysitter's house. So I don't know if it was like the like fucking network cable TV debut or if they had rented the tape or whatever, but that was the first, and I loved it.
Awesome.
I've told the story a million freaking times, but my mom putting me in front of the television to watch Psycho, and then walking away is the first concrete memory I have. That might not actually be true because there might have been Godzilla films and stuff like that, depending how you wanted to.
You had Creature play a lot back in the day, didn't you?
We did have Creature. My mom loves Creature from the Black Lagoon. I remember this is not very early. At some point, there was the first time they televised Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D, in the red and green anaglyphic 3D, and you had to go to the 7-Eleven to buy the glasses. You'd have to buy a glass. The Slurpee cup came with the glasses wrapped around them, and that was a big deal because my parents thought of convenience stores as like a bad place to go. So I had to convince them. And so they decided they'd go, but I wasn't going into the 7-Eleven. But they got me my glasses to watch Creature from the Black Lagoon. But that's not anywhere near early. I was probably 11 or 12 when that happened. But I will say my first theatrical horror film was One Dark Night, which my grandmother and my grandfather took me to go see in a multiplex that's no longer there in Flemington, New Jersey. Oh. And my grandfather fell asleep. My grandfather was a World War II veteran. And he fell asleep during the movie and woke up at the climax of the film where all the dead people are being reanimated. And he lost his shit in that movie theater big time because it was bringing up memories.
Yeah, I had a grandpa who was a World War II vet, and that happened more than once. Yep. Like with me, it's amazing what those dudes saw.
And so it really kind of like the movie I loved, right? But then on top of it, the fact that I saw how much it could actually like affect someone. Big memory.
It's funny. It's not horror related, but Saving Private Ryan. My grandfather could not.
That's the one I was thinking about. Yeah, that did not go over well.
Yeah, I mean, he killed people and watched people die, and he just couldn't take it. Like I was like, oh wow, this was a bad idea.
War used to be in person.
Yeah. You didn't need good internet to fight a war back then.
You couldn't Bluetooth a rocket up somebody's ass. You had to run at them.
The Wi-Fi's down. The Wi-Fi's down. Go.
What? No,
Fix
I'm not
the router.
Well, as always,
well, they're not running, Jonathan. They're just pressing another little lever, and it's moving them forward to go.
You're right.
Yeah, pull out the fucking hard drive.
as always, thank you for leaving mail for us. If you'd like your message left underneath, you just leave it underneath our video, and we'll maybe, chastise you for asking a question we don't like, or free associate off it and never get around to actually answering. Whatever we do during this segment.
Yeah.
It's our goddamn show, and we'll do it.
I do want it known. I will not read anything on this screen. If you want me to read your mail, you need to send it via letter. And
buy a stamp.
The jailhouse letter.
Send it to the Pentagon. I'll get it.
For steak.
Dear Mr. Kaczynski.
People are going to start mailing manifestos in your name.
All right. Let's rock this. And miraculously, I'm still here. Jonathan actually talked about Tales from the Crypt, so it's a perfect segue. We're talking about TV horror that we love, whether it was when we were a kid or today, anywhere in between. It can be anything that appeared on that cathode ray tube back in our youths, or now on our flat screen 8K OLED screens. So, Jonathan.
Well, horror on TV was exceptionally exceptionally important to me as a child because I had really busy working parents, so going to the movies was not really an option most of the time. It was going to be a weekend thing. Got to see something the family wants to see. Same way at the video store, right? You're going to the video store on the weekend. You got 5 days to fill in between that you need your fix. And what's there for you? During the cable generation that I grew up with, it was amazing. And I know Lorne got to see a lot of this stuff first run, if he did watch it, or if not. But for me and Steak and Dan to a degree, we had the benefit of the Sci-Fi Channel all day marathons, the Chiller.
Oh yes.
What was it? Just Chiller? Was that the name of the TV network?
Yeah.
Chiller.
Every day that was a different marathon all day from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you got your stuff like Tales from the Crypt, of course, which was probably an HBO watch for a lot of people, but it was like a Fox watch for me because it was brought up in syndication.
Yep.
Yeah. That Married with Children back to back.
Absolutely. Married with Children.
Damn. Yeah. I didn't get all that.
You know what always got me? And you just unlocked a memory for me, Dan. The slime credits with Tales from the Crypt rolled so well, or other way around. The slime credits from Married with Children rolled so well into the slime credits for Tales from the Crypt. I feel like they looked at that. I know that sounds dumb, but it was a really nice transition. But no, Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Dark Side, Monsters. I'm not gonna go into fucking Freddy's Nightmares and shit like that, because that's fucking you're signaling. That's all you're doing is saying that you've seen this shit because nobody likes it.
Listen, man, I saw so much of it. I'm bringing it up only because I had to fucking sit through so much of it.
Yeah,
there is a part of
completely
me,
right.
There has to be a part of me deep down. Probably anyone that's seen that fucking awful series. And even one fucking time, there's a part of you in the back of your brain that is just trauma.
Well, you had to watch it. You kept watching it going, surely it's not this.
One of these is going to be good.
Yeah.
This one was almost good. The next one's got to be.
American
they
Gothic.
Get their stride here. And
yeah, American Gothic was good. She-Wolf of London, I would say too. That doesn't get brought up a lot at all.
I don't know that.
But I love
Friday the 13th, the series was not one for me, but that was another one of the time.
It was always. As a kid, I couldn't. I couldn't be rational about it. There's no Jason that's dumb. I'll never watch it.
Oh, please do.
Since I'm going to, I plan on it because as
no, that was my stance my entire life.
I've seen
no
Chiller,
Jason.
I've seen episodes on Chiller, I think, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. It's not. It's certainly not that, but it's fucking for sure worth a watch.
Fucking David Cronenberg television, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a side question. So, was that thought out? The dude from Part 9 in the series, how did that connection happen? Is that it can't be entirely?
There was already a relationship there. That's what it comes down.
That's
to.
what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just kind
I've
of
heard
there's no way that was happenstance. Like that's what I'm
No.
saying. Yeah.
And I've heard some people debunk in recent years the whole like Jason's mask was going to be like the final
I mean,
item.
doesn't that make like good sense though? Like at some point they do that.
I mean, it certainly is a cool fucking thing to pull out.
Jason and TV's been a thing forever though, because they try to do shit with him and Supernatural as well, and it always falls apart. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's some really big ones that I'm leaving out because I have a feeling that the bald man next to me is going to bring them up.
So I was really actually going to talk about an episode of Matt Hooper, to be honest with you. So
Okay, well, never mind.
But
I just wanted to. Yeah.
There was this weird tradition in the early to mid 80s of the Halloween themed episode on straight dramatic television. And they take like, do you remember Matt Hooper? It was just a TV detective show. Nothing very
I do not know
special
anything
about
about
it.
Matt Hooper.
It was pretty big for like 3 or 4 years. But there's an episode that was an alien abduction episode. And you have to understand, this is before Fire in the Sky. This is before Communion. I mean, the book Communion was out, but and this really followed the traditional gray abduction from a car and out in the middle of nowhere thing. So kind of close encounters, but dangerous, scary, not awe-inspiring. And it just there was a character, the main character thought he had been abducted, and he was trying to get his head around it. He kept having these flashes of this alien imagery. And at that time, there was really no great amount of material on that, except maybe like, I don't know if Unsolved Mysteries is on the air yet, but that kind of show might handle it. I think In Search Of did a gray alien episode. But Matt Hooper really was not supposed to be, it was cozy mysteries ultimately. And at the end, he'd punch out the villain of the week, right? You weren't ready for like the aliens to abduct people. Just in that show. And the cool thing is at the end of the episode, they reveal, oh, it's not real. It's not real. It's real. And then there's like a sequence after that makes it clear that, well, maybe some of it was real. And that it was very unsettling for as a kid watching because of where it was coming from. But I was a big fan of all those ABC original horror films that they produced, because they produced several of them a year from like 74. Well, even it was like 71 they started, but like they subscribed in 74 and did it until about 83.
Is that where we get like Bad Ronald?
Yes.
Oh.
Bad Ronald, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark, Satan's Triangle.
Was Crawl Space one of those?
I'm not familiar with Crawl Space. I'm familiar with the Klaus Kinski film. No, that was theatrical. That was
not that one. There's the one. It's Bad Ronald-esque.
Okay, no, I'm not familiar with that.
No.
But it wasn't just Halloween time. Like these things would just show up. Killdozer is a famous one, of course. But
Not just Twisters.
But for me, there's one called Don't Go to Sleep, which was a neat companion piece to Haunting of Julia for me. It's not nearly as good a film in any way. However, it has another dead girl who dies in a car accident that could have been prevented, and she comes back to haunt her family. And in the climax of the film, as ridiculous as this sounds, hunts her older sister with a pizza cutter. And there's this image of the pizza cutter going up the banister as she's going up to her sister's room. It's like etched into my mind as like a holy shit, I don't want the ghost girl with the pizza cutter to kill me. Sounds ridiculous. You have to see it to believe it. Very 70s. Very 70s. You can watch it on YouTube. I recommend it. I've spoken long enough.
Unfortunately, YouTube's where you got to go for a lot of that stuff because it hasn't gotten a proper release, but I do highly recommend. I mean, 70s and 80s horror TV movies, they're not all great, but most of them are very good.
Yeah.
They had to rely more on mood and atmosphere, and I find most of them really good. I'm going a little bit later into the early 90s for my pick tonight, and it was something that I thought was really unique, and I remember being excited to watch it when it came out because I'm a big H.P. Lovecraft fan, obviously, as anybody who's watched me knows. And it's the 1991 movie Cast a Deadly Spell from director Martin Campbell, who, if you're unfamiliar with that name, he started off in British sex comedies like Sex Thief and Eskimo Nell, and kind of graduated to big budget blockbusters like GoldenEye, Casino Royale, the Zorro films with Antonio Banderas. But in between this, he makes this really imaginative fantasy horror film called Cast a Deadly Spell with Fred Ward. And this is just such a cool mix of Lovecraftian mythos with hard-boiled film noir. It's so fun. The cast is amazing. You have Fred Ward as detective, Harry Philip Lovecraft, maybe a little bit on the nose with that. You get David Warner as Amos Hackshaw. Julianne Moore is our femme fatale character. Connie Stone, I believe, was her character's name. Clancy Brown, who plays his ex-partner. This story kind of takes place in 1948 in LA. Dark magic is just a thing. Everybody's addicted to it. And Lovecraft resists dark magic, preferring to do things the old-fashioned way. And Clancy Brown is his ex-partner turned gangster, and he's investigating this case of the Necronomicon that was stolen from David Warner's character. And this movie is just a blast. Perfect mix of just old school rubber effects, matte paintings, which creates such an awesome mood that's never been able to be duplicated with digital effects. This was getting towards the end of that era in general, but I just love the blending of the Cthulhu mythos and hard-boiled noir. This movie is very ambitious. This is an HBO original film, and I would kind of recommend it. I'd assume you're all familiar with Lovecraft, obviously, but it almost felt like an early precursor to the Dresden Files. It could have easily have been a series. It's a shame that it wasn't. 1991, we're talking the height of Tales from the Crypt. And although it never got developed into a series, which I kind of sense maybe they might have been hoping for, it did get a sequel called Witch Hunt, which nobody has heard of. And
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper is Lovecraft. Yes,
it's not as good, but it's still fun, but it's not as good.
It is still fun, and he I remember an interview on some talk show where he said this is the strangest movie I ever made at the time, which is a big statement for Hopper at that point. But this movie is just so good. It's never been officially released. It is on HBO Max, and it had a VHS release, but it deserves much more recognition. I don't know why more people don't talk about this one. I'd say it's a crowd pleaser probably for just about anybody listening. This is obviously not an official DVD, but gives you an idea of the artwork here. Yog-Sothoth is on screen. This is just awesome stuff. And I know Witch Hunt you can watch on YouTube. I'm not sure if that's on HBO Max as well.
I think, strangely enough, there is a out-of-print Witch Hunt German DVD.
Oh, okay.
I think it goes for some decent money, but you can usually find it on eBay. But I love both those movies. They were HBO originals, which they were kind of overpriced for what I think they got back as an investment. So it never did lead to more, but I love both of them. They're great. Magical realism as the genre, but it's also the Lovecraft thing, and a little bit of like just straight comedy, especially with the sequel.
Yeah, the sequel definitely goes further that route, but the effects are amazing. These gargoyles that they have in here, which better than the Gargoyles TV movie for sure. Perfect character actors. I remember at the time really loving Clancy Brown for Highlander.
Who doesn't like Clancy Brown?
It's amazing. One of the best short-lived series ever with Carnival. Another thing I highly recommend if you guys out there haven't watched that, my God, that is a crime that didn't get picked up for season 3. But yeah, this we don't get enough of this anymore. And I was just watching it over the other night and just looking at it, and the kind of creativity that's in this TV movie.
That's long dead.
Yeah,
that's long dead. They don't do that for theatrical releases anymore. Like,
No, I have watched some $200 million sort of films with a similar premise, and this just is 10 times better. Fred Ward was born to play a private eye detective like this. He's so good. Fred Ward from Tremors. Yes,
I like Fred Ward.
Yeah, he made a lot of unique movies. Remo Williams.
The Adventure Begins.
Yeah,
sort of recently, didn't he? Like a couple years ago.
Last year. Yeah, I think he did Time Rider, another one. I don't know if people remember. A lot of fun movies. The Right Stuff is kind of what people tend to know him from, but
Tremors,
absolutely.
What did y'all piss Steak off with?
I don't know.
He disappeared. I was gonna say, but yeah, I hope people will give this one a shot. Like I said, HBO Max. You can at least watch the sequel on YouTube, and I highly recommend it. It gets my highest
internet. Be back.
Okay.
Good thing you didn't get those slurs in there. Those didn't come through.
Or I didn't get a pop-up message from someone that was something inappropriate.
Yeah.
Or that dick pic that he sent like 5 minutes ago before he dropped.
Yeah, that's like every 5 hours for the last 2 years, though.
I'm not opening them anymore, Steak. I know what it is.
The caption said, "Doesn't it look just like the kid from Problem Child?"
Oh, that's random. But yeah, no, check this one out, guys. I don't understand why it's not embraced more. I don't know if it was a 90s thing, 91 genre was, kind of on the decline there for a little bit. And other than that, I have no good reason to think why more people don't talk about it. It's one of the better of the 90s, if I'm being honest. It's up there. Yeah. Remedy it, watch it, and I hope before physical media takes its final bow that somebody will figure this out. There's something about HBO though, because there's a lot of stuff. There's a werewolf film. It's not as good as this, called Full Eclipse with Mario Van Peebles, which I believe was also an HBO original, and that seems to be trapped in
the entirety of the Tales from the Crypt series is not available anywhere except you can get the DVDs. And YouTube doesn't seem to be big on kicking those off.
No,
it doesn't cost anything to license.
Yeah, I would suggest really, if you don't have the Tales from the Crypt DVDs, get on that, because that might.
Oh yeah, because God knows what happens when that stops. Like they can't stream the shit. They've tried that before. It showed up on Vudu very briefly. I'd like to know what happened to people who actually bought that. Like if they got taken away, were they refunded? Do they still have it?
Voodoo's weird. Sometimes like they'll delete something, but you still have it.
They took my True Lies away.
Yeah, it's strange.
That's when I quit buying digital shit.
Yeah. Don't spend big money on digital copies.
No,
not worth it.
I think we need to find a solution whereas there's some protections for the consumer.
Right? Like there has to be some kind of real ownership to it. It can't just be, well, you own it as long as I'm allowed to own it.
Well, there has to be some transference of that license back to that. So, and that's tough. I know there's a lot of rights to the copyright owner, and that ties their hands about licensing. I get that it's complex, but we got to work it out.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you have to pull it, but leave it for the people that already purchased it. I don't know how you work that out, but
I don't know. Trust me, that'll be a thing.
Well, what I feel is what should happen is that the licensee that is providing it as a service, right, should have it available to sell, but then there should be an additional rider fee that if you wanted to have it, that another $2 or whatever, you'll own it forever because that money goes directly to the original content creator, who the rights will eventually revert to. That way, everyone wins.
Well, right now they're just trying to work us out of like the idea of owning media. They don't want you to own music. They don't want you to own movies, video games.
It's a little bit complex because you don't want like content creators to be gun shy about licensing their work if it's going to affect the future values of the work. I get it. I do. But I think there has to be a way that there's maybe tier buying, because for some people, more casual people, they might say, I'll just buy the series because that's the cheapest way for me to watch it, but I'll never watch it again, right? Mm-hmm. Those people don't want to pay anything extra to own it forever, and they're going to delete it off the hard drive eventually anyway, right?
Yep.
So for them, there should be one price tier, and for people who want to go further, maybe they pay more to the original creator who has licensed the goods, right? So everyone gets paid. But we have to find something like that where everyone gets paid.
I kind of thought, like, I know, like, I guess we already have the rental and buy option, but I guess what you're talking about is on the back end, like who's getting the money for that now?
Yeah. It's problematic. It really is, because there's no good answer unless it gets more expensive.
It's only problematic because there's money involved. Like, legitimately, it's a if you look at it like from the outside, like, yeah, there's a way to rectify it, but there's money involved.
Yeah, well, I mean, it doesn't have to just be money, though. I mean, so if I license a work to a service that decides just to give it away, hey, we license it, we have the right to do it. That devalues my work when I get it back.
Yeah, that's true.
So obviously contracts can be written so that can't happen. But again, if there was just a system in place, whereas, okay, they're giving it away, but I still get my $2, at least I'm getting something on the front end of
it.
Anyway, I think we've exhausted both steak and the subject. So let's... The horror genre is probably more tied to its classic themes and classic scores than almost any other genre. It's reliant on them to create mood and atmosphere, which are touchstone features of the genre. And yet, like, I think sometimes we don't give the musicians their due share, because they build as much of the reasons we love these movies as anything, I think. So, guys, do you have favorite composers?
Well, so all-time favorite is pretty obvious for me with Christopher Young. I think Hellraiser is my favorite score of all time. And also pretty unique. 1987, to have that classic.
The cat just touched the keyboard.
I figured. I was like, that felt like a cat box.
The cat gets what the fuck the cat wants, buddy.
The cat wanted to hear the theme music to this segment again.
That works.
Kind of proves the point, doesn't it? Even cats agree.
But, you know, Christopher Young, I've talked a lot about, so I did want to mention maybe my second favorite, which is Riz Ortolani, the late, great Riz Ortolani. I think, ironically, probably the most beautiful music is from Cannibal Holocaust, which is really wild, and it works for the movie because Riz, if you've ever listened to the Cannibal Holocaust soundtrack, that is haunting music considering what you're seeing on screen. It's beautiful, and it's just the contrast is pretty amazing.
Why am I missing all this then? What the fuck am I missing with Cannibal Holocaust?
It's a great film. I mean, say what you will. It's a fantastic film.
I mean, no, regardless of Dead Ass Turtles or whatever, I hear it get brought up so much, and it's okay at fucking best to me.
Oh.
But yeah, at best, it's okay.
I know a lot of people prefer Cannibal Ferox, but
I do.
There is something about Cannibal Holocaust. I love both films, but yeah. But no, I mean, Riz also went on to do I mean, he had a long career. He did the Kill Bill movies, did music for Drive with Ryan Gosling, and of course, Don't Torture a Duckling. He even did music for Channel Zero, the Sci-Fi Channel series, and he had a great career. And I know there's a lot of love for Morricone in the chat, but Riz Ortolani, I think, is right up there for me. And I'm not the most musically knowledgeable guy, so I'm sure you guys have some interesting picks, but those are my two.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I saw that one.
We're going to hear that intro again, I think.
No, she's going over to sit on the ottoman now. She's got her moment. For me, I mean, the name that I can't escape is Jerry Goldsmith. Jerry Goldsmith's score for Alien is absurdly perfect for that film. It captures that kind of 2001 wonder of space, but then brings all those dark, seething tones. It's just a masterwork and exactly right for the film it's in. But this event, I mean, Poltergeist. Tell me that those child choruses and that wonderful crescendo when the tree breaks into the house, the movie doesn't work without him. It's amazing. It's a great film, but it's the score is a lot of it, like more than we want to admit. The Omen 2, which that score is the best thing about the movie, if we're being honest, because then
I agree.
It kind of is just repeating the beats from the first film as a movie, but my God, Goldsmith's score just puts it through the back of the theater. It's amazing. If you ever do get to see that in a theater, go. You might not love the movie, but if you haven't heard it in a theater, it is worth it as a concert. So here's a controversial one. He also was responsible for the Haunting remake score, which is the only good thing about the movie. Like, there's nothing good about that film except for that score. He was just one of those guys that could consistently bring it, even outside the genre. But I mean, you know what else? His score for Ghost in the Darkness. I know that film doesn't get discussed in rave tones. I actually like the movie. But it's a really, 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 really good score as well. Diverse. He got hired by a lot. He always came through. The few cases where they didn't use a score on a film, ultimately some other producer would buy the score and use it elsewhere. Just an amazing, amazing composer.
Yes.
If we're talking about original music, like, it's easy to say like Penderecki and The Shining. Okay, yeah, sure, but Penderecki didn't write it for The Shining, you know. But Goldsmith wrote all this stuff for the movies, which makes me think he loved horror too, because he never repeated himself. Like, I'm sorry, this is going to ruffle some feathers. All of Manfredini's scores kind of sound the same,
except that Jason X one.
Yeah,
but it was just because I thought it was subpar. And I was like, "What? That was actually Harry Manfredini?" Like, it just sounds so different from everything in the series.
Yeah, so you listen to Goldsmith and you can't. These scores sound nothing alike. He was watching the films, figuring out their textures, and adding. And,
well, forgive me, I'm ignorant. Isn't that what you hire a composer to do? Isn't that the whole idea?
Best case scenario, it is, right? I mean, but too often, currently, we get just what discordant sounds can we put on the soundtrack for the jump scares? What tones can we put under a scene? What's the last really like classic horror score that you can think of? I mean, it's tough, right?
Yeah, I mean, Hereditary was good.
Yeah, but it's also like not the first thing anybody talks about with that movie.
No. The Witch, all the A24.
I think there's a big difference in being passable and being like iconic.
Yeah. No, I agree.
When you think of Goblin's score for Suspiria, you realize it enhanced the film.
I'm actually shocked we haven't heard Goblin
yet. Goblin's up there for sure. I mean, I don't know if Suspiria is remembered like it is if it's not for Goblin. And I love Suspiria, don't get me wrong, but that is the perfect example of how music enhances a horror film. Yeah, probably really the first time I really noticed the music in a horror movie was Suspiria, because just, yeah, what more can be said? I never got to see them in concert, though, which is unfortunate. I had a few chances to do it and I didn't. But yeah. What's your favorite, Jonathan? Your all time?
So I'm not super educated on like movie scores or anything, so I'm just gonna go with like my favorite, what I think my favorite is, or at least like my favorite like opening title theme is Zombie 2. That shit gets stuck in my head just randomly, like when I'm out doing stuff. And who is it? Fabio Freezy? Yeah. So great synth work in that. I'm just not that guy, I guess, that's the best person to break this down. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I can just tell you like, hey, I like this thing, but I don't really understand why. But I did want to pose a question, because I want to know what you think about the efficacy of somebody like a Rob Zombie, who just goes to like the greatest hits of 1972, and he just fills a movie out like that, which I actually appreciate. But what do you guys think about that?
I mean, it depends on the film, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
I do think that there's a danger. If the pop music can very easily become what people are noticing on screen, and I'm not sure. The horror emotions are complex, right? So a good example is I like the Insidious movies and I take shit for them at all time, but I'm not sure that Tiny Tim evokes horror for me. So I think sometimes just finding that offbeat old track is not a great move. So I don't know. I don't have a problem with it. I think like Halloween 2 using Candyman,
Mr. Sandman.
Mr.
Sandman. Yeah, sorry, been a long week. Is pretty good. It's pretty evocative. It works. I was shocked that something like all I need to do is dream. It was never used for a Nightmare on Elm Street film in the same regard, but I think they should be used very cautiously, and you have to be right about where it's placed. I will forever choose to forget that Don't Fear the Reaper is in Halloween. It's so on the nose. It's such a cheap moment. Yeah, it's in the background, but it's very knowing, right? And I think like that kind of thing. It also is weird too, because those girls just are in 1979 tooling around to a song that was popular, 8 years ago? I don't know. That's just, to me, I don't know. It doesn't quite work, but
I find myself going back and forth on it, and specifically with Rob Zombie. I think he's the biggest abuser of that, especially if he has money from a studio. That's where a big percentage of it ends up possibly going. I don't know how the Halloween 07 soundtrack didn't cost more than actually just making the movie did. But like, there's stuff in that, like Love Hurts, like when Little Michael's out in front, like that's
oh my fucking god.
Hang on, that works. Okay, I like it. Choice. But then you go to Devil's Rejects, which everybody wants to talk about, the final scene with Freebird fucking rolling and them driving at the cops and shooting. My answer to that is anything's cool with Freebird and slow mo. Like there's.
I was gonna say the opposite. That's the only time that song has ever been cool to me.
Well, you're very much in New Jersey, sir. It's not. It's not.
I wish I was in New Jersey.
That's right. You're fucking willingly. They play it down here at fucking Mass, bro. On Sunday, all right. Now turn your hymn books to page 17
in the Book of Skinnerd,
where the brother Ronnie Van Zant wrote.
So I think that the danger is like, if it makes sense for the project. So the Return of the Living Dead soundtrack works perfectly to utilize punk, new wave, and European like folk rock, as well as a aging 60s psychedelic acid rocker. Yeah. It's not just a punk soundtrack, but all that made sense for the kind of art punker sensibility of that movie. I can't imagine it any other way. But there's a reason the sequels never tried to do it, because they didn't make that movie.
That's true.
So it depends. It depends wildly. The second film has some great music on the soundtrack. Mostly college rock, what we call college rock in those days, probably like proto alternative stuff like Julian Cope, which I love. But
WSOU.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that one down there?
Yeah,
down that way.
But it doesn't stand out and it doesn't enhance the film the way the music of the first film does. I'll just say that the first time you heard Dinah Cancer scream, "Do you want to party?" over that soundtrack is one of the great film horror moments of all time. So there we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
That we
you?
are.
That we are.
Well, sir, Stakington.
Well, I had a hard time coming up with anything because I figured, like, John Carpenter's kind of like, of course, so I figured I'd just fucking move right by. And then I got to thinking that I don't really know a whole lot else. But I did go with what I know. And something that is very fresh in my mind, Charles Bernstein, Nightmare on Elm Street, not Night of the Living Dead or Night of the Anything. But I honestly, I think the soundtrack is fucking crucial for that movie, which is something that you hear, often brought up with like the biggest things. Like Halloween doesn't work without Carpenter's score. Unfortunately, that is something you do have to touch on. I don't think Elm Street works nearly as well without the score. Just the way it kind of mixes in its fuck. I have notes, but they're terrible notes. Like the eerie, dreamlike, because there's watching the movie. It hurts me to say, watching the movie last night over on Slaughterport with Jake and Jess Graham from Cable Channel 11. Shout out. It is so much better at kind of melding the reality and the dreamscape or whatever. And it kind of floats in and out so much more than I think a lot of people realize. Like Craven did fucking terrific work on that movie too. Like just, have to talk about that. Just like the synths are fucking sweet. I don't know. Just like more often than not, it helps a score, I think. Depending on what it is, obviously. I mean, there are certain, like, listen, Killers of the Flower Moon has a whole bunch of synths. I don't think it's going to be.
Did you watch that stage?
I did.
Not good. I really want to.
Yeah.
It's that 4 hours. You got to make the time.
3.5. But
it's four.
It's 4.
Oh no! Stop that. It was 3.5. I watched it. I had.
Oh no! What I'm saying is 3.5 is 4, buddy.
Yeah.
Think of it in measurement terms. That's what I do.
I don't do that.
They do math differently, like south of Pennsylvania.
I have no good math skills.
Well, it's close enough. Yeah,
it works.
That's 3 popcorn runs.
I know you only get 1 bowl of popcorn out of me, 1 thing of popcorn.
It's that.
Up here we call it a sleeve of popcorn. No, we don't.
Sleeve
of popcorn.
Can I get a sleeve of corn right quick?
I'm pretty sure I'd be like murdered in the parking lot down south if I ordered a sleeve of popcorn.
Sleeve of popcorn.
But I mean, as far as this fucking score goes, though, like even he does a terrific job at like ratcheting the tension. I think oh fuck yeah, I do have it in here. No Escape is a track that's on the soundtrack. I was listening to some of them today to try to have a reference at least. So imagine the part where she does but it's that do 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 do. It's just that fucking like, oh fuck, and it's like the.
And the echo effect is on it, and all the reverb. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and now I'm gonna do it. This is a dream. This isn't real. And then he fucking it jumps through the music. It's that crescendo to that fucking moment as he jumps through, because there's that brief beat of silence, and then just fuck you. Here we go. We're back at it. It's kind of wild.
it also tells you what type of movie they were making. Like that is a score to a haunted house movie.
Yeah,
It's not a slasher score.
The music, the tub music too.
Oh, that's good.
Is great. You know, yeah. Tub music.
Can you imagine that same movie with those Lynch-esque like shots of the front yard, the perfectly manicured front yards, and the little girls jump roping without
Yeah, and of course, I mean, you know,
it doesn't work, right? The movie falls apart.
Well, that whole fucking thing, and I'm not going to pretend like I noticed it before I heard the thing that I'm going to talk about. They talk in Never Sleep Again about how it's kind of out of sequence. It's not what your ear expects to hear next. It almost like it skips something. It just kind of slightly puts you on edge. You almost don't even realize it. Cute.
Pretty sure it's a scale and it skips.
Yeah, I don't know music.
It gives
like you actually skip an octave or something. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, it gives the ear the illusion that it continues to rise in tempo, which it can't do, which is fascinating. So you know there's something wrong, but you can't place it. It's a phenomenal score. Again, I wish as much concern for those sequels had placed in every aspect of the filmmaking, because that score never works again as well, ever. So
no, it's just kind of like a remnant of it's become his theme. It's really all they pull from it.
Yeah.
Past maybe the second. You know, it's that kind of like something bad just happened. So we'll play it. Another funeral.
I'm going to sound like an asshole for saying this, but I'm sorry. Modernly, I think Charlie Clouser's Saw theme is kind of perfect for the films they're in. It's a dirty industrial rock score in a dirty industrial rock movie. Every time Hello Zepp, you know, if they drop the new needle on the Hello Zepp and we get that oh shit moment, it always works. It wouldn't work for another film, but it doesn't have to. Clouser also did the music for Dead Silence.
Really?
Dead Silence, you say?
Yeah.
Modern classic.
So, are we done with music? Are we moving on?
Yeah, I don't need to hear anymore.
We're done.
I'm good. I'm taking the CD player out of my car. I'm so done with music.
Well, I think we have to let someone else talk for a second or two, maybe 60 seconds.
Hey, Region Free. Veterans Day weekend may be over, but if you haven't seen the finest motherfucking movie about Navy enlisted men, trust me when I say it's The Last Detail. Directed by the great Hal Ashby and starring Jack Nicholson and Otis Young as two first-class petty officers who are given chicken shit detail escorting a kleptomaniac Randy Quaid to a United States Marine Corps brig. Our leaders get Quaid drunk in D.C., beat the shit out of some Marines in Pennsylvania, and then go to a brothel in Boston. Based on the novel by Daryl Ponnickson, who is now 85 years old, and profanely adapted by Robert Towne, it's both hilarious and heartbreaking, with the most famous scene where Jack goes into a DC bar to get Quaid a beer, but the bartender threatens to call Shore Patrol because he's too young to be served alcohol. Jack just goes into a rage and yells, "I am the motherfucking Shore Patrol, motherfucker! Now get this man a beer." And Quaid's like, "Well, I don't really want... You're going to have a fucking beer!" Thank you for joining me. Check out Last Detail. It is awesome.
I always think I like movies, and then Stone talks, and I realize I've only seen like 4 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Stone is a treasure of Hollywood.
Yes.
Go
back and listen to our Dark City commentary I did with Stone. Really good.
That's one I gotta go back and watch.
I believe I'm on a commentary with him, and we watched The Abominable Dr. Phibes.
Nice.
Phibes.
It was a lovely time.
It's a great film. All right. So we're talking about our favorite performances in a horror film, and you can stretch that. You can stretch that, if you need to go a little bit out. But part of the rules I discussed with everyone about this is if we're going to do it. No Tony Collette. It's too easy to do, so let's not do it. No Tony Collette. So, got favorite performances out there?
I really I'm glad this was performances because it's tough to narrow that down. I think you have to throw out Karloff, though. Frankenstein's monster, what he was able to do there without barely uttering a word is truly amazing in terms of acting. And I think maybe not the most obscure pick for me, but you can't not mention Karloff. But I have quite a bit, and it's a shame because a lot of recent ones I don't think get highlighted like they should. We've got a lot of great actresses in our genre, and lately I would say, like, when I think of the best, they are like female roles. Julia Ducournau, I'm probably saying her name wrong, but from Titane, I think was just fantastic. Niamh Algar from Censor. And I know she's got big stuff in her future because I've seen some of her other work, and she is somebody that I hope, quite frankly, will just stay in our genre, because we really don't have that next wave of actors that just kind of really just stay in the horror genre. We don't have our Vincent Price or our Bela Lugosi like we should. I'd like to see more people kind of step up and take those mantles. In addition, not doing Toni Collette, I think you have to throw out Rebecca Hall, because she is working now on about 3 great films.
Dan just loves Rebecca Hall.
I love Rebecca Hall. She's, Night House, Resurrected. I don't think acting gets much better than she was in those movies. I would also say Riley Keough is another one who's been doing a lot for A24, and she was great in The Lodge. And she's somebody that, again, keep an eye on in the future. Anya Taylor-Joy, I don't think she's going to be nailed down to any specific genre, though. But I'm kind of looking for these to become like household names. Like, we don't have those household names for actors in our genre today, and there's
because we got
some that I thought
there's nothing worth fucking participating in.
We got in that habit of supporting like stunt actors in masks as horror icons, and as guys who are doing pantomime performances, whether it's the Terrifier, Thornton from the Terrifier, or Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund's Freddy Krueger. They're pantomime performances. They're not.
Well, the problem with the genre is look, this genre doesn't have the money to pay $20 million a picture normally. Okay,
well, you don't need that to hire a great actor, though.
No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, you're saying, well, okay, well, every time we get a great actor, they move on to something else. It's like, well, financially, it makes more sense than
hey, they got to get their agents' fucking kids through college.
Exactly.
Yeah,
not the first family either. The third family.
Not for anything, but not Lugosi, but Karloff worked in other genres while he was making his classic horror films. Oh, yeah. It's not about that. It's just, I think
it's a much different business now too. Like,
it is. Because the studio, there's no studio contracts that make you work for whatever they want you to work on,
which is a good thing.
Yes, but it's also creating a situation whereas I think there's people who would do great work in the genre and move on, and that's fine. But it would be nice if the genre was respected enough that people would be willing to work on it pretty open-ended. It's something great, I'm just going to do it. But that's harder today because, as what Steak said, actually, there's a lot of bad domestic horror being made. And if you're a good actor, do you really want to attach yourself to that?
No, why would you?
It's either bad original shit or bad remakes.
A24 is always
reboots,
usually
fucking,
going to bring
it. But how often are those things that aren't just fucking done by 7 boys in a village, and then they're given a sum, and then hey, look what you guys did, good job, here's $20.
Well, part of the A24
I don't know how A24 works.
is
I think they're probably
part of the A24 thing is though that like you don't want to throw in a A-list star in their movies like that almost is against the credibility of what they're doing.
It is, but there's some good acting coming out. So
I'm also like A-list. I don't know, when I think A-list, I think like fucking like Tom Cruise, like that level of just
actual.
I'm doing a blockbuster. This is my blockbuster. Like I don't.
Is there anybody really besides Cruise
so
that's that kind of star now? Like they all used to be that way.
They're all
I feel like in this country, no. Yeah. I mean, wait. There is one. The Denzel is definitely still a movie star.
Because even Leo's a huge fucking name, but I mean
he did Shutter Island, which was fucking.
Scorsese has misses. I mean, he has plenty of them.
Dude, really? Are you? Yeah.
He doesn't have too many misses.
Miss? You want to call that a miss?
I'm saying commercially that did not do well.
I don't give a single fuck. That movie is.
I mean, Shutter Island's fine. It's a one-time watch for me. It's very Sixth Sensey.
Oh yeah, fuck. Shut up.
Do you guys remember? I still remember this article in Fangoria, I believe it was, about Nick Cage being our next big genre star. It was like comparing him to Vincent Price, and I was like, he really didn't make enough at that point. Although maybe he's kind of starting to become that. I don't know.
He's got to buy the rest of the Tyrannosaurus Rex that he has.
That's true.
I think he's just in too much schlock to
really
have that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that fucking all the dog shit he did is fucking, it didn't happen because he was in Mandy. And
he's done some good work too. Pig is really good.
Maybe.
Pig is really good.
He's just a guy that I cannot look at. I can't listen to him. I hate the 2 seconds that he's in fucking Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I was bitching about this last night. I cannot stand the guy. So
not even Con Air?
He's a non-starter.
Not even like Con Air, Face Off, Cage.
I don't like the best. I hate looking at the man. I can't.
Get you, dude. But like that run.
I'm not in stakes like hardcore stance against, but I don't understand the endless love. I don't.
I truly don't. And so I've seen very few Tom Cruise movies, maybe by design. Like I think The Outsiders is the only other one that I can remember seeing, except for Mission Impossible 2 a couple weeks ago. I was forced by my girlfriend's child. And I hated every second of it. I hated him. I didn't want him to succeed. And just by extension, I hated everyone he worked with. Like, he made me hate Ving Rhames. What the fuck?
But he has the meats.
So, like, those, like, when I hear A-list, that's what I think. And I go, how the fuck could you enjoy that? But that's just my brain not working. Like a normal.
No, I'm with you there, dude. Like when you think A-list, like it's the Julia Roberts.
It's like look at him. He's gonna rescue someone from a building. Like
who's your pick though?
Like Cage isn't really an action star anymore. Like he's probably a little too old to be doing stunts or anything like that. But
he's young compared to our other action stars. I mean,
Denzel's what? He's got to be 60s,
yes,
late 50s. Is he?
Denzel's older than you think he is. I think.
Yeah.
That's why I went 60s.
But I don't have the issue I have with him that I have when you see some of the really aging action stars, where it's just that like in a straight up fight they would just die.
Yeah.
Denzel feels
still a dude too. Like
he still has that presence. It doesn't really matter.
What I'm saying, he hasn't pulled a Stallone and like just like been on steroids since the 80s.
Yeah.
Pretty regular. He didn't pull everything back, tie it in a knot back here. Like he's just Denzel.
Yeah.
Speaking
I mean,
of,
Equalizer 3 was not, it didn't reinvent any wheels, but I had lots of fun with it. And I completely bought that he could do what he did. So whatever.
good at, like on par with the first two at least, or as far as like having fun.
Better than the second.
Okay, fucking A.
And I think it has a better climax than the first film. So
Yeah,
take that for what it's up there. But those movies are consistent. Like
that's all I want, because I liked 1, I liked 2, so
it takes a little bit longer to set up its main plot, but it's much more character driven. But it gets there and it does what you want.
Denzel's another guy I can watch do anything though. So
And Cliff says he's 68.
it's not a problem. Oh, dude, I can't wait till next year.
69.
So
you guys know why that's funny? Why 69 is a funny number?
I'm aware of what 69 is, but
no, because the 6 and the
I want to
9
hear
are
it from you.
reversed. The 6 and the 9 are reversed.
I thought it was because 7, 8, 9.
No.
Oh.
That is just what my I don't know, the little one says. He's 9, but
Wait till he finds out why that
it's just
number's
it's
so
fucking
cool.
so funny. He's because we ask, because he laughs when he's like, "Look at 69." What's funny about that?
Well, obviously, because they're switched. Obviously.
Well, you
Nothing
see,
else.
sit down. I have to get some paper and a pen. I'll be right back. I have
Looking
to
at Big Papa Steak. I don't have to explain myself.
You Google it to see why it's funny.
Yeah. I'm not educating you on these things. You're old enough. Like, that's what he's going to tell you. He's going to be like, you're old enough. My mom should have told you. But, which I get why you're mad at her now if you don't know what 69 means.
That was not covered in the birds and the bees conversation in normal households above the Mason-Dixon
You
line.
guys, your dads didn't grab the G.I. Joes and the wrestling action figures. Shawn Michaels and Triple H love each other very much.
Iron Sheik and the Hulk Hogan have a mouthful. I just said the Hulk Hogan like a fucking Iranian.
It's kind of like the camel clutch. It's just an extra step.
The Hulk Hogan.
Oh, that's not what I thought.
So my choice for best performance in a horror film.
Lord.
It's actually Simone Simon in Cat People. In the original Cat People. It's such a wonderfully vulnerable performance for what is actually kind of a villain role. It's a complex thing, and I think a lesser actor would not have been able to do what she does in it. When we first meet her, it's a kind of meet cute scene, which it feels very much like the period we're in of filmmaking, and then they start ratcheting up the uncanny, and she goes along for that ride, and she looks amazing, but it's really a great subtle performance. It doesn't need the screaming hysterics that you'd expect from a horror film of that period. Cat People is a masterpiece from beginning to end, but it has the right lead. Check her out. She's amazing. Then obviously, if you completely wheelhouse, but Barbara Steele, Black Sunday, dual roles, and man,
You're the next Barbara Steele. What's going on?
where is she? Where is Barbara Steele today? We need that versatility. It doesn't have to be a female, even though both the examples I gave were female. But we need that versatility inside the genre. Which, I mean, I love my Tony Todd. Don't get me wrong, but he kind of always does Tony Todd, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. So guys in the chat, to start screaming out your favorite horror performances of all time, because you don't seem to be doing it. You seem to be talking about Renfield.
Well, mine is a little more contemporary.
Cool.
Michael Rooker, Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Great performance.
Fantastic performance. Fantastic movie. Flawless. I mean, I'm not great at this, you know what I mean? But I like it. I get him. He's still very human, but very fucking scary. It makes like the caricature. Like, is it Otis Toole? Is it? I know his name's Otis. Is it Otis Toole in the movie? Okay, so he makes that look like a caricature of what you're thinking serial killers are when they're really what Michael Rooker is.
Yeah.
That's what
Can we spend
Tom
a second
Tolles
here?
is fucking awesome in that too, though.
Oh, absolutely.
Henry Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah.
Can we talk for a second about the fact that The Dark Knight completely steals a beat from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer? In Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, Henry gives two conflicting stories about how he killed his mother, and that's how we know he's cognitively really far gone. For The Dark Knight, we get different stories about the scars. It's the same thing. They stole the fucking concept right out of it, and if you think about it, it's used to the same end. It's shocking the cribbing that was going on.
It's just to prove to you like how unhinged the character is, even with what you're seeing,
because
like,
he believes it both times. You know.
Yeah, so it's a deeper thing even than everything you have seen. You know so much about this guy, but even then, like there's still layers.
Oh,
some really good picks in the chat. Yeah. Possum, that's another movie that should be a household name in the horror genre, and it's not. It's so good.
It is.
Yeah, Nicholson, of course.
Well,
Possum's a rough movie too.
Actually, you know what? Like, you could put Shelley. What is her name? I wanted to say
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley
My God,
Duvall.
man, thank you. Shelley
Who
Duvall.
just returned to acting.
That bitch was just terrified and like that wasn't even acting. Shelley Duvall just got
terrorized on the set by two men.
And now go look at Shelley Duvall. I'm not saying the two are related.
So I think we just have to say that, let's take care of that woman until the day she passes on. It's not really a great performance because she was scared.
That's what I'm saying. She was
poor lady. God damn.
Oh my God, that stuff you see.
Just come here, put your ugly little face in my shoulders.
Okay, now I'm gonna get in trouble, right? Heather Donahue, Blair Witch Project, amazing performance. No one gives her credit.
You're not wrong.
Ever.
It's not one that I don't think it's one I'd go to, but you're not wrong. Like,
you believe her? Do you think she's acting, or do you think that's just Heather Donahue?
She's the best part of the entire movie. Like she's the most authentic piece.
I think she feels like a real person. It feels authentic, which is what the movie desperately needs if it's going to pull off its concept. And she's flawed. From the halfway point, the film becomes about regret, and you can see the regret on her face in every shot. It's really, and considering how that film was shot, was real kids out in the woods just filming all the time. You have to be on character all the time. Yes, they edited it into shape, but man, she's so good. Heather Donahue deserves to be, at least acknowledged for the one masterpiece she had in her.
That's true. Weed farmer now, my girl is. So always got love for Heather Donahue.
That's where
in fact, that's how you can get Heather Donahue to do an interview with you. Just tell her you want to talk about weed. And you may get her, as opposed to, I think Dead Pit had to do that when they interviewed her in like 2009. It was, we'll agree to talk about your weed venture mostly.
That's awesome.
And then you just lie to her. No, you got weed or something? Thank you. Good night.
You just compliment her enough that you can make the conversation go where you want it to go.
Yeah.
You got to let her do her thing.
Yep.
I knew a grown woman, as kind of ties into that thought that movie was real till she showed up in the 100 or something. The USA channel thing they did. It was actually a decent. Oh,
Jesus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like 4,400? Was that it? The 4,400?
It's like 100, like so many
You're
people.
Talking.
It was,
yeah.
The 700 Club?
Those are both. Yeah. They're both movies.
Till she was on the 700 Club.
They're both TV shows, 4,400, and then the 100 was like a CW.
The 100, it was like early 2000s, but it was like, I called that person, it was like, turn on your TV, because they found her.
Jesus Christ.
Ever died?
Sorry, we cut Dan off, but we did.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
I was just saying, Heather Donahue did some teen comedy, small roles, but she just couldn't catch on. It's too bad.
So, have you ever been disappointed in a movie?
Never.
Because I think we all have. We want to talk about our biggest film disappointments. Doesn't have to be biggest overall, but just the fun stories about a disappointing horror film, or it doesn't have to be horror, but it make it Make it somewhat
Does it have to
relatable to
be
the
fun?
audience. No. No, it does not. I promise I won't tell the monkey bone story again. I'll have something.
Monkey bone.
Actually,
We're gonna get you to watch The
could you
Whale.
break that promise for me?
That's not going to happen.
It'll erase Monkey Bone from your
No,
mind.
it's not going to happen. Do not like Brendan Fraser. We're not doing this again.
He's also not fat.
Well,
He's not,
no,
he's not,
but
he's not one of us. You know, he
you
doesn't.
don't have to be fat to play a fat guy.
Did you
though.
just call me fat, sir?
I said he's not one of us. He's not a fat man.
Brendan Fraser, The Whale. He's a fat guy in that movie, Lauren.
I'm talking about
I'm
Lorne.
not fat.
I said Lauren's not a fat guy. He's not gonna get it.
Oh, okay.
Lauren's
I
not-
don't understand
he's
any of
not
this.
Brendan.
We
Okay,
were
there's a
all
lot. There's a
one of
lot
the
of The Whale that got to me because I have done some shit like that with eating
Oh, yeah.
to
that
fill
big
emotional holes.
girl.
You're not fat enough for the club.
Let me tell
Lauren's
you about my
been
weight
fat.
journey. I have.
Lauren's been fat.
I have.
He's like he's Paul Feig in heavyweights.
I ate a lot of fucking.
Oh, do you remember how they
salads,
treated
okay?
Paul Feig in heavyweights?
Well, that's
Oh, he's getting
fair as well.
Anyway,
We're just
John,
gonna
tell
talk
me a
The Whale
disappointing
for this
story.
segment.
Disappointing film story before I
Well,
have the stroke that I can feel coming on.
maybe you are
You and
fat.
I both.
You could just have a stroke at any given moment. There's more.
I do it as a party trick.
Yeah. This is a story about how disappointment took a while to set in because I was in denial. And that is with the Rob Zombie 07 Halloween remake. I had little 17-year-old Johnny had convinced himself that was a good movie. And it wasn't until it came out on DVD at the time that I realized what a huge mistake I had made, and that maybe I was just amped up and seeing Michael Myers in the theater, and all of a sudden all this shit just doesn't make sense anymore, and it's pretty rough. So it took me a series of months to find the most disappointing film I think I ever saw, because you got to think, I was 17, 16 when that's announced. Devil's Rejects has just come out, been the biggest thing in horror in ages. House of a Thousand Corpses was almost mythical at that point. You know, that was a movie you'd show people. You know, when you're like, oh, you're scared of scary movies, I'll show you. So you pull that one on, and then we get this fucking horrible fucking flick, all under the guise of Halloween and Michael Myers, and then that somehow made like Michael Myers suck from that point on. Like, he's never recovered from that. People can talk about that all they want to, but that series in its entirety was a completely different thing culturally before those remakes. Sorry, I'm pretty hot. So
No,
you're just getting like a flow of consciousness.
I listen. Me and B Movie Mike understand your pain, except we got it that night. It took a little while for it to come to you.
I was steadfast, man. I was like, no, man, I like what he did with it. I like it.
I think I'm more forgiving because Halloween at that point was really just about in the toilet.
But it was still sacred at that point. It was still sacred at that point.
No.
Oh yes, yes,
not
yes.
after six,
it was no. Resurrection had done its work, right? But even the Buster Rhymes shit wasn't the fucking hilarious thing that it is today.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, since 6, I would say that franchise was kind of on its last legs. Arguably.
Well, I mean, hey, from 6 on, there was nowhere to go but down. So
I don't know. He did his own thing. I get like explaining Michael Myers is just a really bad idea.
Yeah, but then you realize that concept in its entirety destroys the movie.
Sure. I understand why people hate it. I don't have the same hatred for those movies that a lot of people do. Because again,
I don't like it because it made me not afraid of him. I was even when it came out in 07, I think I would have, I guess I would have saw it that fall or winter. So I've been 15, 16, somewhere in that range. And
Lorne
was until the.
Can we address Subjective Perspective Collective here in a minute?
In a moment.
I just feel like telling him why he's wrong.
There's before popping that movie in terrified of Michael Myers, would frequently have nightmares where he was, the main baddie. One time I was both Edge and Christian. Sorry, Lauren, you don't know what this means. And I beat the shit out of him. I was concertoing him. And then I woke up.
You're a straight edge Christian?
Oh.
No, that's CM Punk. He's straight edge. Edge and Christian didn't do that.
They're just different.
Christian Hanna Horror?
They're Canadian.
No, also long-haired, but not our Christian. About a foot too short for that.
So like Baptist.
Definitely Baptist.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Or no, they might be Lutherans up there.
They do give off Lutheran vibes too. I get that.
Lutherans don't really exist. People just talk about it. It's
They
like
do.
birds.
They worship Luther Vandross.
Hang on. Can we just blame everything on Lutherans now if they don't actually exist? That seems like a good place to put all this hate.
There
a lot of it.
The birds are just government drones.
The
argument. By the time
I watched the
Halloween
Vice thing on
07
that. That's
had
great.
finished, no longer scared of Michael Myers, no longer gave a shit.
Well, I think it destroyed it. Like I think that the trajectory and listen to me, Dan. It's not just the movie; it was the marketing that went behind the movie. It became Michael Myers is now on a fucking pair of pajamas at goddamn Kmart.
Well, all right, sure,
but it got marketed like all the good 78 Myers got like fucking shelved. They went, we'll do Rob's now. Rob's is the current, so we're gonna give
this
the
one's
fucking mask.
nine and a half feet tall.
White.
We're in a bubble. There are people out there that is their Michael Myers. Don't
and it's fucking dreadful.
There are people out there, Dan, who will commit suicide if they think the aliens are coming for
I'm not one of them.
People
out there that fuck their brothers.
Argument
the common aliens weren't completely disproven, though.
I think the best argument that I heard for his films is it's like, what's scarier at that time? School shooter. We got the Michael Myers school shooter.
No, we didn't.
I have a friend
actually. I'm in for the Michael Myers elephant crossover. If Gus Van Sant.
There you go.
Only if Michael Myers kills Nicole Kidman. Isn't she in that?
You could put.
I thought she was in that.
I don't think so. I think that was like almost nobody of any note.
Didn't she make a film with Gus Van Sant?
Not
probably did. Elephant was like I was like debating on what anybody would.
No, it was that film where the guy where the girl got the 2 high school students to kill her husband.
Oh, which one is that? I know what you're talking about.
They ice skate over the corpse at the end.
Yeah,
it's a bad film because she's bad in it and she destroys everything.
Yeah,
she almost killed the Northman, and I like that movie.
I love Northman.
Would have been better without her.
That's why Lauren will never be an AMC A-list member.
No, fuck that.
I am glad I don't have to sit through that.
So wait, can I tell you something amazing? This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Went to the Rockaway AMC to see the new Spy Universe film, and so, but that's not important right now because it's going to be a complete side note. Great film, but they were having trouble with the audio. So the whole Nicole Kidman thing played, and you could not hear her voice. It was amazing. It was the best.
Nice.
It was like a win.
Why do people get so up in arms when she speaks?
If you go to an AMC like right now, like that, you have to watch that bitch talk before you can watch the movie. That's why everybody's upset right now.
Yeah, she's awful.
So I've sat in theaters and had to listen to Maria Menounos do fucking stupid trivia. That's much more upsetting than listening to that lady talk for a minute and a half.
No, because Maria Menounos does the fake laugh that she thinks is endearing.
Right.
And it reaches that level of like absurd, like ridiculously, like not being able to read the room. It's great. I'll take Maria Menounos and Perry's.
It's a Gal Gadot or whatever the fuck. Nation into a camera.
Are we allowed to say that name right now? Isn't that one of the banned words, phrases?
What is it?
Gal Gadot.
Oh, is she fucking in trouble?
Oh, no, she's one. I don't know. She's on one side or the other, so I think we have to not say the name.
Oh, okay.
Her name always sounded like the name of a brand of wine to me. A glass of the Godot.
It sounded like a brand of white phosphorus to me. Oops!
There we go.
To Die For.
Keeping
Lauren.
it classy.
To Die For is the Nicole Kidman movie.
That's correct. That's correct. That's a shitty film.
I have one, and it's not a movie that I hate. It really isn't. I think it's a perfectly fine film, but as far as like being really disappointed, I'd have to say Land of the Dead. Because for me,
yeah, I get that.
The Romero trilogy, I mean, Night of the Living Dead is absolutely timeless. I love Dawn of the Dead. Sorry, Lauren.
Fuck you.
Me too,
And-
Dan. Let's kiss.
Yeah, there we go. I'll go in the wrong way there. We'll
They just
make
can't
it
put it together.
spicy for everybody.
We
We
don't know how
try.
to kiss.
Just stick out your tongue to see if they can make them.
There
we
you
go.
go. There you go. Yeah, I went into that really thinking I was going to get something substantial, that we were going to redefine zombies once again. And you got very on the nose.
Aren't
Yeah,
the rich
okay.
really mean?
Yeah, George Bush. There's Rumsfeld. I get it.
How long
it's not
after Zack Snyder's was that? Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead.
A year.
A year?
Yeah.
That's what did it. That's what fucking did it. That fucking
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead is so much fucking better.
I was gonna
Land of
say
the Dead.
we had Dawn of the Dead, and I was like, oh shit, that was a really good remake. Land of the Dead's gonna be awesome. And at
And
that
Land of the Dead
particular
failed to bring the
Yeah.
heat.
It did. My dog, sorry.
Let him.
I thought it was a cat.
I was
Hey,
so
your cat's
disappointed.
making noise.
In recent years, I've revisited the movie, and it isn't a perfectly decent zombie film if you don't compare it. But yeah, I don't think I ever walked out of a theater more disappointed than that.
I hate Franklin too, Cliff, but don't besmirch the greatest horror film of all time.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I
Am
don't
missing something?
get the Franklin hate. I get it, but
Oh, I hate Franklin, but I think it's by design as well. So
yeah.
but I just wish like we could have got like a lot. I mean, Franklin gets it pretty rough, right? But like I wanted to see Franklin get it worse. I want to see him
but
just
no.
split him in half in the chair, and then the chair. Oh,
Non-horror, I might say Battlefield Earth, though. I didn't know what the fuck I was watching. That was like
I ironically love that movie.
not.
It is so hilarious.
I thought I was being punked at the time. Like that, I'm like, this. What
Did
the
that
fuck
kill
am I
Barry
watching?
Peppers? Like, is that what did it for him?
It did for a little bit. Then he did that NASCAR movie.
He did that Dale Earnhardt movie, buddy. All right?
Yeah.
He played Jesus in a movie.
It looked like he was going to be a thing, and then it was like, yeah, no, it's
He was a
gonna.
knockaround, guys. He was pretty decent in that.
Yeah, but Battlefield Earth, I think, was just like, no, you're not going to be.
Forrest
Next big
Whitaker and
stuff.
fucking John Travolta on stilts.
Yeah, it's so fucking weird. It's so
Because
fucking
that
weird.
alien race is supposed to be like 12 feet tall or something like ridiculous. I
Yeah,
don't remember what it is, but
I'm told I should go back, and I'll, the camp value will make it entertaining
the
for me.
camp
But
makes it worth it, Dan. It makes it
yeah,
worth it.
it may. I'm sure I'd go back and check it out now, and it wouldn't be a big deal. But oh my god, like I saw that in Portland when my grandfather was in the hospital, and that was going to be like a pick me up. And I remember going in and seeing that, and then just feeling even worse. It might have been worse than when he actually died, because that movie was,
What was
really
it?
that fucking
What was
bad.
that, 2000?
Yeah, it would have been.
So we're
2000.
just past Dianetics commercials and right before like the internet exposes Scientology too. Like,
Yeah. It's like, you want 20% of my money after that, Travolta? Go fuck yourself. This
you guys remember the Dianetics commercials late night?
You found
Yeah.
him! And then raped him for days.
It took me a while to piece those
Volcano.
Killed
two.
his kid.
It was like a lost memory in my head, like to piece that
I
weird
remember.
Dianetics infomercial was what Tom Cruise was doing.
Yeah. They had a Super Bowl commercial a couple years ago, I think. Scientology, you'll still see
The
those.
one I remember is like the late night infomercial.
Yeah,
Dianetics with like the lava.
the volcano. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get some old guy going, now I understand my full potential. The Dianetics changed my life.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good shit.
I missed this entirely.
Oh, you can YouTube that definitely. Someone probably dies if they upload it though.
I mostly remember like Monsters of Rock infomercials. Just, whatever was on to after like 4 a.m. on Comedy Central. That and Girls Gone Wild, of course.
So I feel like I gotta have because
Guys Gone Wild every once in a while.
And In Between Gone Wild.
I know why, but
both Gone Wild.
In Between Gone Wild.
Exactly. So I want to make
right up my alley.
I haven't made a significant portion of the audience hate me for a while, so here I go. Ooh. No, I'm not going to talk about any long-running franchises that I happen to dislike very popular chapters of. No, for me, this is a very simple one. I remember seeing trailers for a D. Snyder film called Strangeland and going, wow, this could be like groundbreaking. So a older rock and roll guy who loves horror going to produce this film. I didn't realize that D. Snyder thought that shit that happens at every tattoo parlor in America constitutes a horror movie. Holy shit, that's a bad fucking movie from beginning to end. Yeah, listen, it's not going to offend me as much as Fear.com because of the producers, but it is fucking bad film from that period. And there's people who actively keep asking him about a sequel. No one's ever given him money to make a sequel to that piece of shit.
He was close. I used to go to Fangoria all the time, Weekend of Horrors, and he is like the nicest guy. I've had conversations with him over years now. Like, I think it's finally going to happen. Disciple, I think, was.
It's not going to happen.
You're muted, Jonathan. I see you giving the fingers. Don't know who that was meant for. You're still muted.
We can't hear you, son. We can't hear you.
He's doing his artist impression right now. Strangely, yeah, it that was a letdown. I don't know if I had expectations for it though, like you.
Oh man. Uh-oh. I just saw that trailer and thought that we were getting something special. And
yeah, 98 was that? Yeah, we needed something at that time.
And that film was, I mean, there was only like 3 people in the theater when I saw it, and that probably should have been a pretty good hint. But Jesus Christ, that was a bad movie. Like, whew. The other one I would say is I had learned through good secondhand knowledge before the big revelation that The Woods was really a Blair Witch reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a huge Blair fan. I just the first 2 films, and man, I hated that experience.
I don't think I hate that as much as you do. I don't go
Lucky
back to
McKee.
Yep.
I think the director too, like expectation after May.
Yeah.
You were kind of hoping for more.
Yeah. So
I don't hate the movie either, though. But yeah,
I do. I definitely do. But Strangeland, I was the one that if I'm not going to go with one of the big franchise pieces, like I really dislike Strangeland a lot, and I can't understand why anyone would push for more of that.
I really don't understand who's the audience for that. Like, who likes it? It was always a meme to me. Like, it was always a joke. Is there people really like that movie then?
There's a fan base.
There's got to be.
I think it's when it came out. I really do, because horror was a little more tame, and people just wanted to latch on to something that wasn't.
I saw it back. I saw it mid 2000s.
Yeah, well, that's a little bit later. I mean, you had Hostel, you had Saw at that.
That's
point,
not what I was looking for out of it, though. Even at that point,
yeah.
I was just looking for Robert Englund.
I remember everything was very blue.
Everything that time was very blue, right?
The whole thing is blue. Captain Howdy, I remember that.
Nipple piercings are just not that scary, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you go down to the Claire's and that is happening at the mall. So it's not.
I don't know. I got kicked out of Claire's when I asked to get my nipple pierced.
Yeah. If you revisit it, though,
that sounds about right. There. Yeah, you could find some goth chicks that really like Strangeland right around the Hot Topic.
Yeah,
out there.
Strangeland.
Strangeland.
All right, Jonathan, here we go. Ready?
Oh yes. Best, I'd say the biggest disappointment of all time for me is the Blair Witch. Snot-nosed flashlight, not trolling, don't block me, just doesn't work for me. The question I have to ask you Subjective Perspective Collective.
Supercull, for short.
Yeah, you tell him, Jonathan.
Did I cut out again?
Yeah.
Did you think it was real when you walked in? Because that's the only people I've ever met that do not like that movie were tricked, and they thought they were going to go watch people die on screen. I guess I don't understand that, but
There
yeah,
were
let's
a
go to
lot
the
of
movie
those
theater to watch
people.
these people die. It's what we do. But that's the only people I ever hear say anything bad about the Blair Witch Project is because they feel bamboozled. It's not because they didn't.
I know people whose parents wouldn't let them watch that
Yeah.
movie because they didn't want them to see people actually.
Where was logic in 1999? Like, who thought that you could do that?
I mean, I knew it was a movie.
I was
Like, I
9
didn't
years
quite
old
get
and
it.
I knew it was a movie. There were adults who
Logic was 9 years old.
he'd not yet put out any big hits.
No, not quite.
But no, that's just what I'm saying. I mean, I guess I made that into a bigger thing. But no, the movie's great. It's fine. It's insanely suspenseful. The only way it doesn't work is if you think that you may have been tricked and now you feel dumb.
Yeah, there is a lot of that, I'm sure. Especially
But it
when
didn't
the
have
actor-
credits. There were no credits. These people have to be fucking dead.
See, that was not even a part of my world. I just think that it was that rare thing. Like, we didn't have a word for what found footage was at that time. It wasn't a genre unto itself. There's been examples in the past, sure, but even those examples usually had framing elements, and this was just trying to do something immediate. And people don't talk to me about Last Broadcast because none of you saw Last Broadcast before you saw Blair Witch.
Not first, no.
People knew it existed, but it was a film that people
You
saw.
have like a 25% chance you caught that fucking alien abduction or McPherson tape.
Yeah, but I mean, even those films really just have many more tells. They look like real movies. This looked like a VHS tape, and Blair isn't perfect. There's a few things I would nip around on it, but to be honest with you, it's so close to perfect for what it wants to be. If it's not for you, cool, but it's pretty fucking great for what it is.
Also, I watched a bunch of that stuff leading up to it too, though. I think that's part of the experience, watching like the Curse of the Blair Witch on Sci-Fi leading up, maybe hitting that old 56K modem up, hitting up at that website with all the random fucking facts. It helps.
Yeah.
The
story behind the movie is fascinating.
There's almost like extracurricular work you have to do with Blair Witch. Like, it's not just watching the movies enough. Like they built a whole backstory, a whole little world to go with it. And it worked.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole generation that have seen the film since that, and it works just fine for them on a different level. It's a powerful piece of filmmaking with some good performances and a killer final 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That captures what real terror feels like. And it's just running handheld through a house, but there's certain images like when Heather turns the corner and the one wall has the children's handprints on it, and the camera doesn't do the typical Hollywood thing of, hey, look at the handprints. Oh no, it's just there. You see it and it's gone. And it's just like, wait, that's how that kind of shit would really play in real life. It's immediate. It's visceral. It really works for me. The fact that it doesn't over-explain itself.
It doesn't explain its ending at all, which is where people get. I saw him say the dude jerking off in the corner wasn't scary. That's explained much earlier on in the movie what's happening there, and the implication behind what's happening. Why is he staring at the wall? Is what is scary at the end of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't have to see the payoff. You know what's coming.
The wall, for sure.
It's
a little bit of product.
It's a little bit sad that the end of Blair Witch, the camera falling to the ground on its side, has been so duplicated by everything else that's tried to do the same format. But hey, you can't blame the people who came up with the idea and did it first.
Right.
So.
But I mean, like, go back and look at like, what do you think about like Eduardo Sanchez? I guess he's the more known of the two.
And Daniel Merrick.
Let's go back with like The Believers.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah.
Even the VHS stuff that Eduardo Sanchez has done since then, not great. It's always found footage.
Altered is a really good alien movie.
I haven't seen Altered.
Oh, see it. Yeah, Altered's really good.
Absolutely. All right. Ready for it to get spicy?
Yes.
Hot shit.
I'm just gonna let Dan go. This is about movies and sex, so you guys don't need me.
Everybody's just assuming I'm going to pick something really dirty and depraved, and that's not really the case at all, because I tonight am going to talk about the Jean Rollin 1979 film Fascination, which just recently came on 4K from Indicator. Steak is like just in the zone.
He might be having the stroke that I was promising myself.
He might be. Jean Rollin, first off, this movie is essentially a pseudo vampire film. It's set in 1905, and it focuses on a group of these aristocratic women who drink ox blood because they think it's a cure for anemia, and it leads to other hungers, I guess would be the way I would put it. Jean Rollin is often listed as kind of a schlocky director, which is totally unfair. He gets a lot of comparisons to Jess Franco, which I guess if you look at some of their best work, you can kind of make those comparisons. But Jean Rollin was an artist. I mean, his movies are like just like a one beautiful painting. And this particular movie was inspired by a short story, A Glass of Blood by Jean Lorraine, which is 1895, I believe, short story. And this is not his typical vampire film. I mean, again, they're not really vampires. If you haven't seen this movie, you probably know the iconic image of Brigitte Lahaye and the Scythe, which is just amazing. That right up there with Lena Romay's Arrival and the female vampire, I think are just, yeah. This was a weird time for Rollin because he was known as kind of the vampire guy, and he was having trouble getting the budgets to make the movies that he wanted to make. And this and Grapes of Death, which Grapes of Death is a very atypical Rollin movie. That's kind of considered the first French gore film. It really isn't, but Lips of Blood was a huge financial failure, unfortunately, for him. So this is that period where he's trying to get out of the XXX world, and he's really just doing that to finance his art, which Fascination is right up there at the top of his filmography, in my opinion. This movie is just absolutely beautiful. Minimal dialogue at times, kind of driven by imagery, and it's some of the best surreal horror imagery ever. The chateau that they shoot at in this film is one of the coolest that I've seen in Gothic horror. It's got the moat. It is just so beautiful. It's almost a character in itself. And Rollin, it's a very sad story because he really didn't get much acclaim at all until the 90s, when people were able to see a lot of this on, at the time, really shitty VHS. That's how I first discovered Rollin. Yeah, and he's perfect for the 4K format to really just see just how beautiful. And I'm working my way through his 4K releases, but Fascination looks great if you choose to check that out. And I still think he gets labeled as this smut peddler. He's not. This is a beautiful movie. There's nothing dirty about Fascination. And it's interesting because this is based, in fact, around that time, a lot of aristocrat women and men, for that matter, did drink blood because they thought it would cure animal blood to cure anemia. So it's there's a lot to dive into as far as the history behind this movie. I think, yeah, the Chateau de la Motte is just gorgeous. I talk a lot about Black Sunday. If you're a fan of Black Sunday, I mean, very different. That's not a particularly sexual film, but I would highly recommend you dive into Jean Rollin. And I'm really glad that these 4Ks are coming out and people are getting a chance to experience it again. Once again, don't think that you have to watch this alone, with the door locked. It is beautiful film. The eerie, dreamlike quality that he's able to get in these films is second to none. And also, speaking of scores, Felipe Diaram, I think is how you say his name. Fantastic score in this, and he actually kind of stopped when Roland died, unfortunately.
Rolling. Sorry.
Yes, I wanted. You got to watch this one, Jonathan.
No, actually, it does sound interesting. I'm not gonna lie, that does sound nice.
Yeah, it's a beautiful film. I don't expectations. There might be some people that are thinking like they want more of the Jess Franco smut out of it, and I don't know.
See, I legitimately had trouble coming up with something for this.
Oh, really? Sex and horror?
Really? Like, no, like something that I had something to say about. Does that make sense?
I get that. I thought somebody would probably take Return of the Living Dead 3 and Melinda Clark, obviously.
I mean, yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Kind of made you think some unusual
something to
thoughts.
like that siren-esque quality in a woman in horror, like because you could see yourself like, oh, I would absolutely get killed right there. I'm dead already.
Brigitte LaHaye, she's like a statue. I don't even think she's a woman. She's a statue. She is so beautiful, and that was the thing about Roland. Like contrasting him with Franco, he never had money to hire big mainstream actors. Franco did, particularly at a certain period of his career. I mean, he worked with Jack Palance. He worked with Christopher Lee, Klaus Kinski.
Jack Palance.
Yeah, a lot of big names. Roland had to create his own stars, and he took LaHaye from the adult world and turned her into like his own kind of homegrown star. And what do you think about Fascination, Lauren? Do you have a particular favorite with Roland?
It is my favorite Roland film.
Oh, it is number one. Okay,
yeah. Absolutely. I think the thing is, even on those dirty VHS pan and scan blown out images that I grew up. Well, not really grew up. I'd say I went through a period probably about, I don't know, 94 or so to about 97, trying to get a hold of everything I could just to be able to see it. A lot of bootleg dealers had better prints than the VHS that were available, less cut, not uncut, but less cut. Mm-hmm. But even there, I could tell there was something more to it. But unfortunately, it always got lumped together in the conversation with shit like oh, Zombie Lake. It's one like that kind of stuff, whereas like nothing happens for an hour and a half. But the dream logic that was being explored, it's very specifically European. Americans sometimes have an issue with that because they like strictly plot-driven narratives. They don't like any deviation. To the point where they'll complain about your David Lynch's and your Company of Wolves is too extreme with the storytelling. But to me, the thing that's really shocking is that we don't have a problem necessarily with the overt sexuality of like a European count biting and drinking the blood of a nubile 17-year-old girl.
Yeah,
but having a naked female vampire come out of a grandfather clock and people suddenly are clutching pearls.
Well, that's where it would have been nice for a Sam to be here tonight.
Well, listen, I think you should protest and bring it up to her next time you see her.
I'm going to.
She
I'm gonna give her
she
as
was
much
gonna
shit as possible.
choose the Beast. I think is what she
The
was
Beast in
gonna go
Heat,
with.
or the Beast in
Yeah.
Space.
I think she would have gone with Heat over Space. I'm just guessing. Just guessing.
Yeah, probably. You know, I mean, I wanted to just talk a little bit about Don't Look Now in this category.
Oh, yes.
Because I think it was very infamous when it came out for the extremity of its R-rated sex scene. Because what it did was it wasn't explicit. I mean, it is, but it's not really explicit. It's like the most explicit soap commercial, shampoo commercial you've ever seen when you get to that scene. But what makes it feel real is that it lingers and it probes and it puts you in that bed. There's no distance from the audience to those characters, and it's rarely immediate, and it feels much more explicit than it is. But what it's doing narratively is really cool, because it's a film about, if you haven't seen Don't Look Now, you should, but it's a film about a couple who lose their daughter. The daughter dies, and they go to Europe on a work, but it's sort of a vacation at the same time. And they're both trying to individually kind of deal with what has happened. And neither one is doing a very good job of it. And at a key moment, they have this sex scene, which is meant to be redemptive. And you're not sure how this extended sequence, because this is not like a normal scene, a normal sex scene in a film of this era, let alone now where they're only allowed to be 30 seconds long. This is protracted. It forces you to be there, because these characters are finally trying to come together to deal with it, whereas they were very much separately trying to deal with it. But what the movie's doing that's really clever is by forcing you to endure this sex scene. And it's very sexy, but it's very uncomfortable. It really is like if you're standing in the corner of a room of a husband and wife who are going at it. And what it's forcing you from a perspective to do is to personalize the story on a very, very intimate level. And from that point in the movie, how the film is shot changes. We have some really extreme angles and camera movements before it, and we're pretty locked down afterwards, because now all those discordant ideas the characters are having about how much blame to place and what they could have done is now not there. And it becomes very locked down and very concise. And it's just really, really, really smart way to use sex as a narrative tool.
Yeah. Now, Don't Look Now is one of the all-time great horror films. That's a good pick. That's a really good pick. I had trouble, like, there's a lot of movies. Another one that more recent-ish one that I was going to bring up is Dead Girl, which is certainly a very unique way of
that's an uncomfortable fucking movie, but I like it.
Oh yeah,
it is. I got the new
man. Like every time they go back
Blu-ray
down, I have that on DVD. Is it worth the upgrade, Dan?
It's a lot of extras. I haven't popped it in yet, so I can't say.
That was an early Netflix pickup for me. Like when Netflix was doing the discs.
You have the unrated DVD, I take it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, that's
every time they go back for another piece, I'm fucking
It is. It's like, oh wow, I thought I was just going to watch a zombie movie. And what's unique about that movie is the producers, Trent Haga, by the way, Trauma alumni who wrote this.
Really?
The producers visited him, and they were kind of looking for projects. I mean, he has like a stack of like 200 scripts. The guy's insane. And they notice a separate pile. And he tells them, "Oh no, don't bother with those." And it's like, "Oh, why not?" And it's like, because none of those will ever.
You can't make that.
Yeah, and they come across, they read Dead Girl, and they're like, "We have to do this." And it's like, "There's no way you're gonna make this."
I really enjoyed it, man. It's a weird fucking movie, and it's the only movie I've seen like that. So,
yeah, and another weird. I mean, Jenny Spain, even as a zombie, looks.
I ain't fucking man.
Well, no, I'm not making a case.
I'm just saying you was saying awfully good about that corpse. Like, she's a good looking corpse. Am I right? Whole movie's about two dudes keeping a fucking zombie sex slave. She looks okay, doesn't she?
And it's a really good movie. We say zombie sex slave, and you would think like, oh, well, that can't be that good. It's a really good
it's not that movie. It's not. It's
no, it's not at all. We're not perverts here, guys. Believe me.
yeah, no, it's hang on, no, it's that movie. It's not a zombie movie though.
No. And I do have a tough time. Once towards the end, I'm like, don't know. There might be some odor issues at this point.
Yeah. Pretty much a one-room movie too, right? Like we don't see a whole lot go on outside of that basement.
Pretty much. It's a very sad movie too. Like if you haven't watched it in a while, there's something.
Yeah, you feel bad for the corpse, man.
You feel bad for the corpse. You just like that town. You know, it's like small town hell. I'm looking forward to revisiting it. I didn't do it because I wanted a fresh viewing before I review something, but
I may pick
highly
recommend. Man. I may pick up that Blu-ray. I forgot how much I really enjoy that movie.
Yeah,
I probably haven't seen it in 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute for me as well, but it's always stuck in my mind. And I hope this Blu-ray, people will discover it for the first time and be just as revolted as we were.
Was that an IFC joint?
I think it's before IFC Midnight, but it might have been IFC.
No, I'm sorry, it was Dark Skies.
That's
Dark Sky.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Unrated director's cut.
Nice. Yeah, check that out. Some classy sexuality and fascination, and then some corpse action and Dead Girl.
There you go. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us for the November edition of Region Free, which began with me not being able to get the technology to work, and now has ended with Dan talking about fucking a corpse. Everyone have a great night. We'll see you in a month.
That was the same shit as the last time.
Well, you picked the last one, and I may have been like the last one.
You didn't like the last one? But you were laughing the whole time.
Yeah, because it was ridiculous.
Ridiculous? It's a classic.
I'm not really into all the weird cousin shit that was going on.
You lied to me.
You picked this one. Cousin shit.